Hey everybody, we are live again for another Q&A Hurricane Edition.
Yes.
We are in, as you guys, most of you know, we are in Nova Scotia, which is just about to, well, in the process of being hit by Hurricane Dorian.
Thank you, Dorian. I was at Macna, for some of you might know. So I met a few people in Macna, which was really cool, but I left Florida just before Dorian got there, and I was like, yeah, safe. Then it followed me home.
Thanks, man.
My pleasure, Brian.
So we've been busy the last couple of days prepping everything. You have to put everything away that's in the yard, all the kids' toys, like secure everything. I brought like my barbecue, everything into the garage and got it all done. It was supposed to be a Category 2. I guess now it's a Category 1.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
Hey, no, that's
Drop
all right.
that number.
Yeah, it's still my first hurricane.
Yeah, mine too.
Be gentle. It's going to be pretty wild. So all that said, though, we're here.
Yes.
Thomas made the drive over to my house, and we are here. We started a bit early just so he can rock out of here a bit early as well before the winds get too out of control.
Trying to make sure everything's cool at my place. I got all the chickens, as you know, that like the barn's getting shut down and shut up. I'm literally screwing shutters down on the barn so it can't flip open by accident. Plus, I got the tanks at the house.
Yeah, so what have you been doing to prep for the storm?
I've got a big generator. Not only to keep I've got like a freezer in the garage plus the fridge that I got to keep going. But then I've also got the tanks, so I want to try to keep them going for as long as possible. So I went out, got a couple of big fuel canisters, whatever the heck you call them, gas tanks, jugs. Anyway, so I filled them up with some gas. The generator's ready to rock.
So the fish will be nice and safe. Let's say the power...
Did water changes already? I made like 50 gallons of RO water in a barrel, or 35. I don't remember how big my brood is. It's either 50 or 35. And then 35 gallons of just tap water so that if we need to flush toilets and cook and whatever. Yeah. So I've got those 2 broods full and ready to rock.
Right on.
Buckets.
We should, I don't think we'll lose...
Battery-operated air pumps. If you're ever in a situation where you think you're going to have a power outage, battery-operated air pumps are the shiz.
So the fish will be nice and safe?
Yeah, I'm hoping everything's okay. Like, I've only got so much gas.
Like, how many days would you say you've got? Like, because I've heard for the Hurricane Juan, like 15 or 16 years ago, they lost power for like 8 days in this neighborhood. Like, in my 8 days, they had no electricity.
I'll be messed if it's 8 days.
Yeah.
I will.
It'll be a rough.
Definitely have a hard time.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Gonna have a bad time. I mean, the family and I will be okay, but the tanks, I'd be worried.
Right.
I'm probably solid for about 3 days, but after that, my generator will have no more gas.
Yeah.
And as long as the gas stations still have gas and power. But the problem is the last time we lost power, everybody.
Yeah, that's it. If everyone doesn't
there
have
was one gas station that ran off a big generator themselves, so they were okay. But everybody else was done for. So it all depends. Yeah. I'm hoping it's not a big deal.
I hope it'll pass us over. We'll probably lose power for a bit. They've been saying you're definitely going to lose power, so we're prepared for it. We don't have a generator or anything. We'll just read by candlelight or something for a while. But we have like water. Like I was looking for things I didn't want to buy, at the grocery store yesterday. It's been a mad dash at the grocery stores.
Yeah.
Like, here, check this out, everyone. I've put these up just so we can see these. This is our local grocery store.
Man.
That's the bread. This is the chips. So here in Nova, have you ever heard of storm chips before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it before I moved here, but I saw some billboards that said storm chips. I'm like, what are storm chips? Just chips you just buy chips and you eat them during a storm. I got some.
Yeah.
That's the chips.
I got one bag.
Yeah. This is the water. You can still see there was some still on the top shelf. I guess people didn't want to reach. But apart from that's the grocery store. So I didn't want to buy any water. Plus, I don't think I could have. So I ended up using my the Big Al's fish safe maintenance bucket.
Oh yeah!
I filled that sucker up, so I've got 17 liters of water just ready to go in that.
Awesome. Plus
a bunch of other stuff. So that was pretty handy. But we started seeing some play already. We've got this tree here is just around the corner from. It's a little not far from my house. So we've got some action already. So with that said, we're going to get this stream up and running, get some questions
answered. If it gets
answered.
hectic, I apologize, but I will leave early.
Yeah. So with that said, let's get right to the questions.
Let's do this.
Yakking long enough.
Yes.
Let's start off. Wow, we got a super chat already. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Who
is that?
Who is that? That's from Tim Bennett.
Tim, do you have nothing better to do than throw money at me?
I should have known it was Tim. Oh man, thank you so much.
Thanks for the storm reprieve money.
Yeah. Help get us through. Thanks so much. Really, we appreciate that. Tim Bennett. always coming through.
Yeah, you're awesome.
All right, and now one of our longtime subs, and usually here for our streams, John B. I believe John B was the gentleman who was with us during his honeymoon. Actually, I believe that's.
John.
Hey guys, I did a water change and then got green water about a day later. What would cause an algae bloom like that?
That's odd. I will say sometimes there are excess phosphates in tap water. It depends on what your municipality's adding to their water supply to either clean the pipes or, they add all kinds of stuff. Sometimes they have huge boosts of chloramine or chlorine and people aren't prepared for them and you go to do a water change and you have problems. So it could be that. It could be that when you dumped in the water, you stirred up your substrate and there was trapped phosphates and stuff in your substrate. That could possibly do it. But that's really it, unless you accidentally left the light on. Do you have it on a timer and just left the light on, flicked the timer by accident? Did you get a lot of sun the other day? It's hard to say, but you could just test your water. Chances are you have a bunch of phosphate in your water. Yeah.
Okay, our next question, can you explain the nitrogen cycle?
We have a wicked awesome whiteboard video that I did that kind of explains that, but long story short, fish breathing, fish waste, excess food buildup, that will all break down into ammonia. Ammonia is then broken down by beneficial bacteria, nitrifying beneficial bacteria in your water, which love oxygen and waste like ammonia, and they'll break that down. Basically, the end result is nitrate. And then the last part of the nitrogen cycle, which is very difficult for us as aquarium owners to complete, is denitrification using anaerobic bacteria, which then feed on the nitrate and turn it basically into nitrogen gas, which is inert and leaves the system. The reason that last portion is so hard is because denitrifying bacteria are anaerobic, meaning they like a lack of oxygen and CO2 really to thrive. They don't want oxygen. It's detrimental for them. And in a system where we are constantly trying to have good amounts of oxygen so the fish thrive, it's very difficult to set up that kind of system where the bacteria that are anaerobic and do not want oxygen can do their job. There are specialized medias on the market like Seachem denitrate, which is very porous, but in a way that helps the center of that porous substrate. Basically, it helps prevent oxygen from getting into the core of it, so the denitrification can happen at the core of that media. How efficient it really is depends on a lot of factors, how you set the media up, how fast you run the flow through it, so on and so forth. So it can still be a challenge. And then there's things like the nitrate reactor, which I think we've also done a video on in the past, right? Which I think I also mentioned in that whiteboard
You do actually mention it, yeah.
So that's another option. It's a filter specialized for dramatically reduced flow to create that anoxic zone where there's a lack of oxygen, so the bacteria in the reactor are anaerobic and can thrive and remove the nitrates from your system. A little bit pricey, can be really good, especially if you have larger systems or systems where you have nitrate issues. A lot of the time it can be a worthwhile investment. Takes some getting used to set up and get running efficiently, but a good option.
Cool. We've linked that video. I've put it in the chat, so if you want the more in-depth, longer form answer, check that video out. It's a nice in-depth explanation of the nitrogen cycle. Hit it up after the stream. Next up, the best nano tank fish. What do you think? Your opinion.
The best nano tank fish. Saltwater. There's lots and lots and lots of small nano gobies that you can get. One of my favorites, which I've had a very easy time keeping, are neon gobies. They're awesome. Small coral gobies. There's ones that are green with red stripes. There's ones referred to as clown gobies that are kind of yellowish or orangish and dopey looking, the little panda variety too. They're all cool. Lots of fun. Very easy to keep. Nano for freshwater. There are quite a few fish out there. I really like, there's these little, I think they're called fire raspberries. That's just a common name. I don't know their Latin name off the top of my head, but they're wee little things. They're red and they are gorgeous and they're really, really cool and they stay very, very small. I think they're a pretty decent option. Galaxy rasboras or celestial pearl danios, same fish, are another really good option if we're talking around 10 gallons. 5 gallons or less. I don't love putting fish in 5 gallon tanks, but a Betta would be suitable. they can deal with a little bit less space, provided that
they have all the proper...
You give them the filtration and the heating and everything else they need. Live plants are also really good when you're dealing with smaller tanks. Anubias, crypts, Java moss. It's been a tough couple of days, man, prepping for this hurricane. My brain's not on full.
I'm with you.
Blast here.
What constitutes a nano tank? Like what's like the cutoff that makes a tank like?
It really depends because for a long time anything 20 gallons and less was nano, especially in the marine world. But that's also because they started changing the phrasing. So there's also pico tanks, and pico is usually 5 gallons and less. So I usually don't consider a 5 gallon a nano. I usually consider that pico, and then going under is pico. But everybody has different verbiage. Like there are people who consider saltwater 30 gallons or less as a nano tank, right? I consider, like, personally, anything under 50 gallons for me is really a small reef tank. So is it truly a nano tank? Meh.
Gotcha.
Verdict's not exactly out on that one, and like I said, everybody's kind of got a different opinion.
Fuzzy line.
Different websites, but in my opinion, anything 30 gallons and less for a saltwater tank is definitely a nano, and once you hit 5 gallons and under, you're at pico for sure.
Gotcha. Then that answer about the fish, I'm gonna say that'll work for what fish should I get for my 5 gallon Planet tank. Some of his suggestions. Again, for everyone, we're not anyone who asks from now on what should I get. We're not going to be able to answer it only because it's so subjective. It's such
open-ended.
Like it's really your call. So we're not gonna anything that says what should I get.
Go to my suggestion, which I'll give every time. Go to your local fish store, walk around the fish room, and see what inspires you. That's like one of the best parts of this whole hobby. Don't just get a fish because somebody said it's a good fish to get. Go check out everything that's available in your area. See what really lights the fire for you. Grab one of the employees at the store and start asking questions. And that's how you're going to figure out what tank or what fish is best for your tank. If you have let's say you've got a few fish in mind and you don't know which you really want, you like them all and you want my suggestion, I'm happy to help. If you have fish in your tank already and you want to add another fish, but you can't think of something, or nobody can help you find something that fits with the fish you already have, I can try to help there too. But just open-ended, what should I stick in my X tank? Nah. Yeah. Go get inspired, man. Don't just add something because somebody like me was like, hey, my favorite fish. Who cares what my favorite fish is? What's your favorite fish?
For real.
Just saying.
So from now on, from now on, that's the blanket statement for what should I get. Go to your fish store, walk around. Okay, so got to go to work now, but do you know why Phosphate RX is impossible to find in Canada? And is there a similar, just as effective product that is available in Canada? Thanks.
I don't know why Phosphate RX isn't available in Canada. It depends what it is. There are certain products that it's getting harder and harder to get in Canada because they're considered veterinary products, whether or not they're medications or any kind of dosing or anything. So if the chemical they use falls under that category, you're not going to be able to get it without a prescription, or it'll just be straight up illegal in Canada. There's lots of products like that. They're Bayer insecticides. Lots of Bayer insecticides are not allowed in Canada. So that said, strike it from your mind and just pick something else. I've had success with Red Sea's phosphate remover. I've used... And that's a liquid dosing. It's probably a form of carbon dosing, and it seems to work very well. People have pretty good, NOPOX, NO3PO4X. That's it.
Gotcha.
So Red Sea's NOPOX works well. Carbon dosing in general tends to work pretty well. You could also use phosphate removers. You could try things like ferric oxide, or there's some aluminum-based phosphate removers, although I don't really like using the aluminum type in reef tanks. It just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not saying it'll necessarily have an issue. I just, I've been using ferric oxide for a long time and it works, so haven't had the need to change. But the carbon dosing also works well. I've used NOPOX in a few situations and it definitely did its job. So
cool.
NOPOX is my suggestion.
Sweet. I've linked that in the chat, so you guys can check that out, learn more about it on BigElspets.com. Or if you live by one of our super centers, feel free to go into the store and check it out and talk to someone there. But I've linked it so you can check it out on the website as well. Next question is from our main man, just in case. What can you guys tell me about baby elephant nose and baby whales freshwater?
I believe they're in the electric fishes family. They can be pretty sensitive, especially to any currents in the tank. They have skin, which is also extremely sensitive. They need very, very good water quality, and I think they tend to, at least the elephant noses. I haven't kept baby whales, but I think they're more of a bottom feeder for worms and stuff like that. So you're probably going to want to start them on a freeze-dried, pre-soaked freeze-dried, or which means freeze-dried and then you pre-soak it before you put it in. Bloodworm or frozen bloodworm or something to that effect, and sinking pellets. They also tend to like to be in tubes and or in planted tanks or anything that has a lot of cover for them. They're a bit of a nervous fish. I don't have a ton of personal hands-on experience with them, so I can't give you any tips or tricks with them necessarily. But yeah, they're really weird-looking fish, kind of nifty, but not the easiest fish to keep. They're a little bit of a challenge, so just do tons of research before you actually get them and stick them in your tank. I would say that unfortunately, I think they're probably one of the fish that has a higher mortality rate in captivity, just because they have slightly more specialized needs, and people don't realize that. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
Shame.
It is. They're really cool fish, though. So if you have the drive to keep them, then give them what they need, and they'll do well.
Sweet. Can I keep peppermint shrimp with hermit crabs?
Yeah. For the most part, you can, as long as you don't have any of those like giant predatory hermits. There are some gigantic hermits, but if we're just talking like scarlet or blue leg or Halloween hermits and whatever,
good to go.
Have fun.
Sweet. Hit up that like button, pretty please.
Smash it. We did this in a hurricane for you guys.
Yeah. We should have
hit like for hurricane.
We should have set this up like out in my backyard and have us like wearing ponchos and
winds. My hair's over here.
Yeah.
We're getting rained on.
Well, missed.
Yeah,
next hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hope that doesn't happen, Ryan.
We live out in the Maritimes. It'll happen at some point. Okay, next question. Hi, I built a 35-gallon tank and I don't have any cover on it. Should I get one? And also, what lighting should I get?
Depends on the fish you're going to keep. I like open-top rimless aquariums. I think they look beautiful. But if you have fish that are prone to jumping, and really any fish can jump, but if you have fish that are prone to it, a top of some kind is definitely a better bet. Tops will also help prevent evaporation, but if you want evaporation, because it's a lot better for gas exchange and oxygen, etc., then what I would say is get a net top. So you can, Red Sea makes a bunch. You can get small Red Sea mesh tops, and they're all kind of a little bit of a DIY setup. So they give you everything you need to make the mesh top, including the rails, and you just kind of fit it to your tank and stick it all together and put the mesh in. So then you still get all the gas exchange that you would want out of having a lid on the tank, or not having a lid on the tank, but keep all the fish in by giving them a barrier that would be difficult for them to jump through unless they were teeny tiny.
Cool.
Yep.
On a sump.
Yes.
Can your return be 1.25 inches and drain be 1.5 inches? This is for a 220-gallon tank with 60-gallon sump. Okay,
so the problem with your question is that you don't give me what GPH you want to run through the system. So
classic blunder.
Yeah. So a 1.5-inch drain is actually a pretty good size. It's actually the most frequent hole that I will drill is for a 1.5-inch bulkhead when it comes to drains. A lot of the tanks that you get standard will come with 1-inch drains, which is silly in my opinion. I would just do a 1.5-inch. But a lot of the time they'll just give you more than one overflow if the system is too large. So for instance, my 265 had 1-inch drains. I just hit the mic and I'm sorry. 1.5-inch drain, I'm trying to remember, I think has a maximum practical flow rating of like 1,300 or 1,200 gallons an hour. I don't remember off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. You have to look it up. But whatever your flow rating is, that's what's going to determine, like, how much water you want ripping through the system will determine how big your drain and return line have to be. The most common return I use is 3/4 inch. I don't ever go bigger than that because why? 3/4 inch is definitely enough, and I oftentimes will have more than one return area. So I'll have a hole drilled in like the left side of the tank and the right side instead of just one return. That way on a larger system, let's say, I've got water coming from different directions, and then you can put things like a switching current water director on the return so that it changes what port the water comes through, and you get some like wave motion effects and stuff. Anywho, so yeah, you need to know how much water you want to rip through. Just Google, maximum gravity or maximum gravity fed siphon drain size. You'll find the list. I found one of them. I found on Reef Central, I think. Anyways, there's tons of them out there. But you got to know what you want to do. The sump size and the tank size don't have a ton to do with it. It has a lot more to do with how much water you actually want to push through it.
Well, I don't think, Sam, did you give us any more context while he was giving? Nope, nothing more from him. Okay, well, we'll move on then for now. Is a 32-gallon tank a good size to start a saltwater tank?
Yeah.
2 clownfish and some coral.
Yeah, that's not a bad size. Not a bad size at all. 20 gallons is my minimum, especially for a pair of clownfish. And when you get clownfish, just make sure you're getting either Percula or Ocellaris. They're the 2 most common types anyways. They come in lots of different colors and stuff. But they are one of the smaller clownfish. You don't want to get Clark Eye and stick them in a 20-gallon tank. They will get way too big. So same with maroon clowns. You don't want to put maroon clowns in a 20 or a 30. They need a lot more space than that to get big. So yeah, I think that's a respectable size.
Good to go.
Yeah.
How often do you want to sub your tropical fish flakes with dried brine shrimp and frozen bloodworms? I just got 4 platies in right now, going to get more later.
I'm a once-a-week guy when it comes to feeding treats and stuff. And I do consider those treats, and the reason being a solid flake food or pelleted food, whether it's, tropical or New Life Spectrum, let's say. New Life Spectrum makes some amazing food too. Anyways, as long as you're feeding them a really good diet, anything else you're going to feed on top of that to vary up their diet, you want to look at it more as a treat. So if you're doing flakes and pellets, and then once a week or twice a week you're doing freeze-dried or frozen food, I think that's probably a good way to go. You also don't want to get your fish used to something that they prefer, and a lot of the times whole prey items like frozen foods and freeze-dried foods are preferred by fish. It looks more like food to them. It probably tastes more like food that they naturally have. So sometimes you get fish that are like, no, I just want to have that. If you go out for lobster one night, it's hard to go back to porridge, right?
Yeah, no, I've experienced that firsthand.
Yeah,
me too. I haven't had porridge in years. It's been lobster straight, just straight on through.
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah, you don't want to go back to porridge, right?
No way. Cool. I don't know if you're gonna know what this is, because I don't know what this is. Well, you'll probably know. What's your opinion on Aqua Advisor? Any idea what that is?
I don't know what that is.
No opinion.
Sorry.
Okay, let's see. Next up, hey, can I use a cruise the water instead of water overflow? Do you know what that means? I feel like I'm on crazy pills.
Can I use a cruise the water instead?
I have a feeling it's a typo.
I don't know what that is either. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mohammed. Yeah, try, I guess, ask again and we'll see if we can figure it out. What's the minimum tank size you recommend for a couple of dwarf pea puffers, and is there anything that can be kept with them successfully?
Okay, so pea puffers don't get big at all. I would say, okay, for me, comfort zone, I would say 20 gallons. You can do a decent little planet tank in 20 gallons. They'd be happy in that. You can put other fish with them. Just keep in mind that puffers tend to be nippy little things, and you don't want to put anything in with them that's going to pester them, because they are very small fish. So guppies, maybe, good chance they might get nipped at. I like species only tanks for puffers. Straight up, I think it's the best way to keep puffers. You can give them the correct salinity if they require it. Not all puffers are full freshwater, even though they're listed as freshwater puffers. They're a lot of the time brackish, so you want to double check. I can't remember if a pea puffer is brackish or fresh, but double check, because you want to make sure that they're getting the correct environment for them to actually thrive and do well. But yeah, species only is probably the best. If you want to put anything in with them, put large snails in with them that are going to breed and have successfully have babies. Things like, I think rabbit snails will do pretty well at that. Apple snails, mystery snails. Reason being, for a 20 gallon, I'd probably do mystery snails. The puffers will eat the babies. It's like having a constant food source in there for them. So it's not a bad idea. They shouldn't bother the adults. The adults are going to be way too large. The shells will be way too thick, so they'll be fine. But all of the babies that start crawling everywhere, those puffers are going to have a heyday.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good for them.
Cool. Next up, efficiency in aquarium cooling, regular chiller versus thermoelectric chiller.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm a massive fan of Peltier devices and thermoelectric cooling. I think it's a really nifty way to do things. I've had incubators that run on that technology because for those of you who don't know, a Peltier device for thermoelectric cooling, it's like a ceramic plate. It's usually a square. And on one side, when you provide energy to it, On one side, it gets super hot, and on the other side, it gets super cold. So you can have like ice crystals on one side and cook an egg on the other. It's a really, and they're so thin, like it's a really cool device. So what they often do, and what chillers using this device, like the CSXC1 chiller, which I don't know if we carry it anymore, but the way it works is on one side, you put a giant heat sink and a fan so that the Peltier device doesn't fry itself on the hot side. Yeah, probably not. No. And on the other side, it gets really, really cold. So what it does is you route a channel on that side in like PVC or something and push water past it. And the water touching that part of the thermoelectric chiller gets cold. Here's the big drawback of thermoelectric chillers. You would need a gigantic Peltier device to cool a large volume of water. So the CSXC chiller, I've got a couple of them at my house. The way they work is they basically can only chill effectively a very small variance, so like 5 degrees on like a 30-gallon tank, 35 gallons. Once you get over that, you either have to add another one or you just go to a bigger chiller. So if you're looking for a chiller that's going to work effectively on your tank and you've got a larger system, anything over 35 gallons, I'm going to say just go straight to a chiller. Yes, they're a little bit power hungry, but they're going to do the job. They're going to do it effectively, and you're not going to have any issues. With a smaller Pico tank, whether you're like 20 gallons and less or whatever, those thermoelectric chillers are awesome, and that's why I have them, because I tend to make smaller systems. The reason I have a pair is because I have a 50-gallon system. So that's my opinion on them. I think they're awesome. I think the technology, specifically, if they're going to keep using it for aquatics and this sort of thing, we need to find a better way to manage it. But they're really cool.
Sweet. Just in case, says Thomas out here looking like Aragorn from off Lord of the Rings.
Aha! I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, you should. Okay, let's see. Another tough one. Another one we get a lot. We should probably just do a video to answer some of these questions we get a lot. What fish should I get for my 5-gallon plant? What fish should I get? We already answered that one. Sorry, this is the one we get a lot. What are the tank mates? What are good tank mates with a Betta in a 3.6-gallon tank? That's
okay. So the thing with 3.6-gallon tank.
Yeah.
No fish. Get a snail. Get a snail for your Betta. Okay, move on.
Okay, cool. Looking for a low light background for a Betta tank. It's a 7.5-gallon tank, preferably something that is not slow growing. Any suggestions, anyone?
A low light plant.
Yeah.
Jungle vows. They are going to grow very, very tall. They get like massively tall. But here's the thing. They're skinny. They grow straight up. And as soon as they touch the water, they'll just, I love you, Brian. They just kind of go across the water and you take scissors to them and trim them back. Like they're a super easy plant to take care of. They do great with nutrient export. They grow quickly. They do it decently in low light. And they are truly a background plant. There you go.
Sweet. Awesome. Next up, well, this is a bit subjective as well. There's like a lot of variables. What would it approximately cost to start a saltwater tank, a 1 meter by a 0.5 meter? That's a really tough one to actually give a solid
1 meter is 3 feet.
Yeah.
0.5 meter is 18 inches. So I'm assuming we're talking roughly 60 gallons. 36 by 18 by like 18 is 40 gallons. Usually people go a little bit bigger.
And we don't know, like with coral, not with coral.
Here's the thing, yeah. It will range dramatically on the equipment you choose because the saltwater aquarium industry has, in the last 10 years, had a massive explosion of technology to make reef keeping easier and saltwater keeping in general easier. It's going to depend if you get what filtration you're using. Are you going to put a sump on it? Are you going to try a canister filter? Are you going to go sumpless with a hang-on skimmer? There are too many variables, but I will say this. You will likely not spend less than $1,000, and you could very easily spend more than $5,000. Very easily. So it depends on you and what you want to accomplish. You could put $2,000 of lighting on that tank without trying very hard. That's just the light. So you could imagine.
My kids are going nuts up there.
They're having a good time. It's hurricane day.
We got them cooped up inside, all their toys out.
Yeah.
They're having a blast. Good?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Next up, is it good for a beginner to start a low-budget clownfish tank for a first ever aquarium?
Yes, we actually have a video on this.
Yes, we do.
It's not hard. The only difference between keeping freshwater and saltwater when we're talking about just fish, nothing else, just fish, you're literally talking about the skill of adding salt to water. That's basically it. So we have a saltwater series that we did where I basically show you how to set up a 20-gallon clownfish tank. A lot of people, if you read the comments, a lot of people go off about how it's wrong to put ornaments in a saltwater tank. You should be putting corals. This is tacky. This is lame. Not everybody wants a reef tank, people. Not everybody wants to deal with that. This is literally just a saltwater tank, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with just setting up a fish tank for clownfish. They are captive bred. They do not care if there is an anemone in there. Half the time, it takes them weeks and weeks to even realize what an anemone is and how to use it. So chill.
Cool. I've linked that in the chat. How to set up a basic saltwater aquarium with clownfish.
Basic with capitals, for crying out loud. So feel free to ignore all the haters in the comments. That's just elitist. Straight up, it's just elitist. And I'm one of those guys. I don't do these tanks. I set up full-blown reef tanks because that's what jives with me. But I am also a crazy hobbyist and enjoy the challenge and the trials and tribulations and the work that comes with it. Also, all the money that comes with it. Like, it's expensive. But if you want clownfish in your house, ain't nobody should be telling you that you shouldn't do it.
You do you.
Yeah.
It's a good...
I got you.
Start there. And then,
that's why I made this series, because I recognize that not everybody's on the same level with what they want to do. Look, I like mini golfing. You are not going to catch me at some, like, multi-million-dollar golf field just going whack, trying to get a hole-in-one across, like, a kilometer. I don't care. I just want to play mini golf. All right, let's do this.
Can I use Kent's RO right to remineralize the still water? Sweet. For the viewers out there for Neo Shrimp. If so, how much per gallon would you suggest?
Follow the bottle. I don't know off the top of my head what the dosing ratio is for Kent, but people got to read instructions. I don't want to be wrong and give you the wrong info. I use Replenish personally from Seachem instead of Kent RO right. That's just me. They're both, I've used both. It's fine. But yeah, read the instructions, figure out exactly what you want to hit, and then hit it.
Cool. Hey, Thomas, just got my 225 from Big Al's.
Nice.
Super stoked. Any tips on a quality black sand substrate that won't poison my fish?
Yeah, so Caribsea makes a few really good ones. Some of them are for saltwater tanks, if that's what you're doing. But if you're doing a cichlid tank, they have a few mixes. Some are white and black. Some are straight up black. I think the one that they have is Tahitian moon sand. It's pretty cool. Just keep in mind, some of the black sands are actually very coarse on the outside. And if you don't want that coarseness, or you're trying to do live plants or something, look at EcoComplete. But either way, Caribsea is baller when it comes to substrates. They have a lot of selection, and they're really, really good, and I love their products. They don't pay me to say that either. I just straight up...
They don't. I can confirm
I just straight up love their products.
Yeah. It's kind of like Eheim.
Yeah.
We should be getting... But we don't, because you just love them. So.
Yeah, no. This is just my experiences over the last, 20 years of keeping aquariums and what I like based on customer service from those companies and how well the products work and how easy they are to take care of and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Price point to a degree, like I have, and this is something I want to get across to everybody. How much you spend on something, a lot of the time also dictates the quality of the thing you're buying. If you have two things and one's dramatically cheaper than the other, there's a good chance, like this isn't Nike clothing, right? There's a good chance there's a reason that the other one is going to be dramatically less expensive.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah. Not always the case. Sometimes there are those hidden gems that are a little bit less expensive or a good chunk less, but are still really good products. But then over time, those usually go up. I'm just going to,
is that yours?
Just so you know, I'm keeping an eye on my phone here, which I would usually consider rude, and I would apologize profusely for, but this is a hurricane.
Under the circumstances, I think we'll permit it.
Yeah, we've got my wife is at home in the background. I told her to let me know if like things get hectic because I'm not necessarily checking the hurricane warning on the phone right now, just to message me so I know to come home. But luckily, that's not the case. We're still good, so we're gonna keep chugging away here.
I wish we had a window or like a hurricane cam or something. We could like
really cool.
switch over. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not prepped. Budget for Brian next time, next hurricane. All right, we just got another super chat in from Brenner Hidalgo again. Hey, Brenner, thanks so much.
Thanks, man. I'm doing good.
Hey. That's good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Hanging out here with us during our hurricane stream.
Yeah, keeping us company.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, what's a good food for bottom feeders that don't break apart before they have a chance to eat them?
Any sinking pellet for bottom feeders will usually hold together quite well. New Life Spectrum foods, for the most part, unless it otherwise says, are sinking foods, and they have a lot of different foods. So New Life Spectrum is definitely one I would look at. There's a bunch of sinking foods from Tropical, which are really good, which I use. I like shrimp pellets a lot of the time. They sink. Sinking wafers for various types of bottom feeders. There's a massive, actually, selection of sinking foods from Tropical as well, so check those out. But those are the two main brands that I've been using currently, and I like them both.
Sweet. Next up, can a flower horn and a pleco live together in harmony? Love from Karachi, Pakistan.
It really depends on the flower horn. So here's the thing. Flower horns are a very territorial fish. They have a hard time being in a tank with other fish, especially even if it's a mated pair. Like, I'm telling you, they will still beat each other up. So I truly don't like mixing flower horns with anything. I have seen them take offense to a pleco being on the glass, and they go after it. I've seen a lot of fish, red devils, Jack Dempsey's, jaguar cichlids, whatever. I've seen them ignore plecos in the tank with them just because they're unobtrusive. A lot of the time they're out of the way. They don't really, like, from a instinctual standpoint, they wouldn't really threaten their territory because they are not fighting for the same territory, right? A lot of these fish want a spot. Sometimes it's on the bottom of the tank, but usually they're midwater fish, right? They're not, stuck to the bottom or the sides. So sometimes you get away with it. They don't take offense to it, but if they do, your pleco's just going to get beat the heck up for no reason. So I'm gonna say it's probably better you just don't. Although you will see, yeah, I always do. I did a lot of dinking around when I was started the hobby, and I broke a lot of rules just to see what would happen because a lot of people would say you can't do it. I'm like, pfft.
Classic Thomas, like to push the envelope.
Yeah, pish posh. But it sucks when those things are right.
Yeah.
Or 1 out of 10 times it becomes a problem, and you're that one, and then you lose a fish over it. Like, it sucks. So just err on the side of caution for sure.
Cool. This is a bit subjective, I guess, but are damsel fish good to keep?
Here's the thing with damsels. They are very aggressive for their size. There are some that are better than others. I think Talbot's damsels are pretty good. Blue laser damsels. What the heck is their proper name? I can't remember. There's a few out there that are more on the schooling side and actually do pretty well in small groups. Talbot's damsels I've kept in small groups. Whatever this blue laser damsel that I can't remember the actual name of. It's a guy's name. For sure it is. Whoever found it, I think it's named after. Whatever. They're pretty good. But a lot of them, 3-stripe damsels, blue devil damsels. It's in the name. Domino damsels. There's tons of different damsels that are really aggressive and get fairly large and will just fight everything in the tank. So if you're going to do a tank with damsels, be very careful with what damsels you get. They should usually be the last thing you stick in the tank, especially if it's a nano system. I'd caution you on it because they will make it very hard to add anything new in. A lot of people like to start with damsels because they're very hardy, so they're difficult to kill during the cycle of a tank. Although I'd argue your tank should just be fully cycled before you add anything. If you want to get a damsel for your tank, just get a clownfish. They are in the damsel family. There's a large variety of them. They're really, really pretty, but they are not nearly as aggressive to everything else as most of our damsels are in the hobby. So be very careful. What I've always wanted to do, and maybe I will do in the future, is get a whack load of different type of damsels and all put them in the same tank together like you would with an African cichlid tank, and do a reef system that is just full of really pretty damsels. They're all on the same playing field in terms of aggression, and as long as you pick damsels that are going to stay relatively the same size, they should just be able to deal with it, just in the same way African cichlids can. It's still a proceed with caution kind of idea, but that's really the only safe way I see keeping most of those damsels in the hobby without them causing ruckus with all of the rest of the fish in the tank. If you want a damsel-like fish that schools really nicely, look at chromis. The only thing is blue-green chromis, for instance, they can be a little tough to keep. Their own little hierarchy that they have can be rough on them, and they do best in my experience either just having one in the tank, which is kind of lame, or having 12 or more. And that kind of helps keep them in balance. Also, you got to feed the snot out of them to keep them from beating each other up.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Next up, Roger Rios sent us a super chat. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Raj. I have like 6 plants.
Okay.
They're turning yellowish and black.
Yikes.
These plants don't require CO2.
Oh.
I'm using Aquarium COOP Fritz and Fluval 3.0 for 6 hours. So I guess maybe any advice or any thoughts on that?
I would have to see them. I don't know.
Okay.
It could be a nutrient deficiency. It could be temperature. It could be lack of CO2, even though you say they don't need it. It could be overdosing. It could be so many things. Leaf ailments, like a lot of them have yellowing. A lot of late stage leaf ailments will have black. Like black coloration or die off at the tips, for instance. How it's actually presenting itself on the foliage is what's going to tell you what the problem is. If you Google aquatic plant leaf ailments, you will probably get a nice little kind of chart. It'll usually be the same type of leaf, usually represented as like a sword plant or an Anubias plant leaf, and they will show you graphically what it'll look like when there's a magnesium deficiency, late stage, early stage, or a magnesium overdose, so on and so forth, and that can help you drill it down. But without me being able to see your plants, as much as I'd love to give you like a straight up clear-cut answer, I can't. So check Google, do a search, see if you can find that, and compare what's happening to your leaves to the leaves on those charts, and that might help you drill down to what the problem might actually be.
Yeah.
Sorry I couldn't give you a better answer.
You did your best.
I got you on the right track.
Yeah. And thanks so much for the super chat. Again, we really appreciate when you guys support us like that. That always helps. Awesome. So thanks so much.
Where's Fat Rabbit? Is Fat Rabbit in the house?
I haven't seen Fat Rabbit today. Best way to soften water for a Betta?
Okay, so softening water, in my experience, the easiest way to do it is just get RODI and then add replenish to bring it to where you want it. Straight up the easiest way to soften.
Cool.
There are like water softener pillows and stuff. I think API made one for a really long time, but I honestly just prefer get some either distilled water or RODI water. You can usually buy it at local water depots. Grocery stores often have it too, RODI. And then, like I said, just get a little bit of CChem replenish and then add back what you want to be in the water so that the betta has the exact water it likes. You can also put things like black water extract and stuff in to help acidify it a little bit.
Cool. How do you feel about CChem Matrix?
I like Matrix. Okay, so I've used basically CChem Matrix, CChem Denitrate, and even Matrix Carbon, just in case you're talking about Matrix Carbon. Matrix Carbon works well. As far as carbon goes, it's probably like just regular activated carbon. It's my favorite. It's the least regular activated carbon I've used, and it works well. Matrix as a biological media seems to hold up great. Seems to be working really well. I used it on the 265, which I'm sure you remember. That tank had 0 nitrate issues, 0 ammonia issues. So it did a great job. I've used it in filtration since, and I dig it. I also really like Eheim Substrat Pro, but it's hard to compare because the Substrat Pro is a lot harder to break down. So Substrat Pro, if you take it and try to crush it with your fingers, there's no way you can do it. The Matrix, if you push hard enough, you'll start to grind off the outside layer. That's just the nature of it being like, it's a pretty raw product, right? Whereas the Substrat Pro is like manufactured pretty heavily. And it's, I don't know what holds it together, but it's like hard as nails. So yeah, it's also a lot more expensive per volume than of the product than Matrix. So yeah, I like Matrix. The only time I use the Substrat Pro personally is when it comes in the filter.
Right. Fair enough.
But yeah,
cool.
Denitrate's also really good. I like mixing Chem, Matrix, and Denitrate. If you're gonna do it, just do both.
Cool. You let me know whenever you got to drive to
yeah,
do so. I don't
when
wanna...
did we start? When did the stream start?
I think we started like 10 to 12, something like that. So
10 to 12. So like we're gonna try to go to. Yeah, what's it looking like outside?
I don't know. You have to step outside.
Keep reading. I'm gonna see what the storm's up to.
All right, so we may cut it off. He's got a drive to do. We'll answer a few more in the meantime. Once he checks in with his lovely wife to.
Okay, let's do like 10 more minutes because apparently it's already getting super windy.
Yeah, you live out in the country, like you get some wind.
The worst part is I live in what is essentially a little valley.
Yeah.
And any weather system that comes through, whether it's snow or rain or whatever, sits there. So a lot of the time, like when I drive into town, which is only 15 minutes away, my grocery store and stuff, it'll be like 2 feet of snow where I am, and I get 5 minutes away from my house, and there's no snow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get pummeled.
Yeah, should be fun.
I'm hoping we don't have too much damage. I got a lot of trees like right by the house and stuff. Yeah. So
luckily, you don't live by the coast. It's supposed to get pretty nasty.
Pretty ugly
live
there.
Right by the coast.
Gosh, yeah, no.
They're doing like
is it Colchester that's up that way? Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll answer a few more, and then Thomas is going to jet to make sure he gets home safely, so we can keep doing these live streams.
Yes.
All right. How often do water conditioners affect medical treatments in your experience?
I've never had water conditioner affect a medical treatment ever.
Sweet.
Not to say it can't, but I've never experienced that.
And you've been in the hobby long enough that if that was a common thing, you would have.
If it were a common issue, I think we would have hit that by now. We've been medicating aquariums and fish in, water that has been treated with water conditioner for years. We're talking like 40 years, 50 years of aquarium keeping with medication for sure. So
yeah. So I don't think you have too much to worry about necessarily.
I don't think it's a problem.
Okay. Awesome.
I wouldn't pour them into each other as they go into the tank, if that's what you're saying.
Right. Roger sent us another little super chat. No question or anything, just another.
Roger, thank you. Yeah. You're awesome.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
really, really appreciate that, man. How do I treat tail biting of bettas? I've had no luck before.
Wait, is your betta biting its own tail? Because if that's happening, I have no idea.
Yeah.
If other things are biting your betta's tails, make sure your betta's not with other things. That's basically it. Either stick it in a controlled environment inside of the tank, like a breeder net or a breeder box, or just get everything else that's causing the ruckus out of the tank. Or if your beta's going around biting things, fins, same problem. This is why betas don't do well with other fish. But if it's biting its own tail, I have no idea. I've seen that happen. It's ridiculous. I don't know how to stop that.
Yeah, I think we had someone on our
Give
last
it a
stream
mirror.
with the same problem.
What I would probably do here is just an idea. Betas do react to mirrors quite a bit. You don't want to leave them with a mirror long term, but for when it is chasing its butt, just stick a mirror beside it and distract it for a couple minutes, and it'll be like, oh look, another beta for me to fight. Maybe it'll forget that its butt's there.
What a weird problem to have for that fish. Like imagine being that fish with that problem.
Here's why it's a problem. That's not what betas look like in the wild, right? Placat betas, for instance, like the little fighting betas,
right,
have short fins. That's what they look like. Yeah. That's what a beta looks like. This crazy crown tails and big veil tails and stuff. This is just man-made through line breeding and stuff. So all they see is fin. And they're like, oh my God, there's a fish behind me. I'm going to fight him. Yeah. He's trying to get me. Meanwhile, he's chasing his own butt. But in reality, he wouldn't be able to do that if he was in the wild and didn't have a tail like a wedding dress. You're looking good though, dude. All right.
Hi guys. I have a Java fern in my planting tank with a few community fish. The other plants grow a lot, but the fern doesn't. It doesn't really seem to. Any ideas?
Not jiving yet. I don't know how long you've had it. As long as it's not getting like a ton of algae on the leaves and looking raggedy Ann, then you should be okay. Like if it's a low-tech system, for instance, you should not expect your plants to grow quickly. They probably just won't. Java fern, I've had look basically the same with very little growth for very, very long periods of time in low-tech systems. Same goes for Anubias. That's kind of the beauty of them. They are decent at maintaining themselves even in subpar conditions, which makes them really good low-tech plants. And then there's things like, I don't know, like wisteria and whatever that just grows like weeds no matter what situation they're in. Yeah, I wouldn't think a whole lot of it as long as the plant's not deteriorating at all and there's no algae buildup on the leaves and what have you. Also, it's really important to keep in mind that they're technically like a rhizome plant, and you don't want to bury the base of the plant. So some of the root systems, sure, you can bury that a bit, but the base of it, you don't want that under gravel. It'll suffocate it and it won't do well. So if it is buried, you might want to lift it up a bit.
This isn't a question, but I'm curious on your thoughts on this.
Sure.
Nano saltwater is expert only. Would you agree? Would you concur? Or is that an elitist view?
Okay, so here's the thing. That's not correct. It's only partially correct. I think keeping a reef system, Nano, isn't expert only, but it is difficult. So if you're brand new to aquariums, you're not making it easier on yourself to start that way. It can be done. It takes a lot of patience. It's very slow to start. You have to know what you're doing. The problem is new hobbyists tend to rush and they tend to overstock way too fast. So yeah, it is a setup for failure for most people, but a 20-gallon tank for a pair of clownfish is saltwater. And that's technically Nano, and it ain't expert. It ain't even hard. So check your elitism, bud.
Check to the door.
Or at least be more specific. I would not recommend anybody goes out and does a 20-gallon SPS and clam reef with zero experience. You are not going to enjoy the process. I've done it. It's possible. Not easy. So partially right, not really right. Let's not polarize things here. All right.
Cool. I love you guys. Thank you.
I love
We
you.
love you too. I have a Betta in a 10-gallon. I just ordered a 25-gallon, and I'm fairly new to the hobby. Do you have any recommendations, I guess, on moving up to a bigger tank and managing it?
So are you planning to put the Betta in the 25, or is this just a new tank? If it's just a new tank, sky's the limit. If you haven't done a planet tank yet, you could try that. Low-tech planet tanks are a lot of fun. We have a series on it. If you want to try something a little bit different, you could do another like species-only tank. I'm assuming your Betta tank is probably just a Betta tank. You could just pick something, a little bit off the cuff and more fun, like we were talking about earlier, like puffers. So green spotted puffers or pea puffers or something like that could be fun. There's so many different kind of cool fish. You could do a gourami tank. You could do a little planet tank of like neon tetras, or the sky's the limit. Just go to your local store. I said this earlier. Go to your local store. Take a look at all the fish that are back there. Maybe you don't even want to do fish. Maybe you just want to do invertebrates. Like, who knows what you actually want? Just go to the store, get inspired by their livestock, and then kind of start doing some research based on the things that made your heart swell. And then maybe base your 35. It's 35, 25, whatever size tank it is, around those things that inspire you.
Cool. Time for another question?
Yeah, let's do two more, and then I'm gonna boogie.
All right.
Damn you, hurricane!
Let's see here. We already talked about. Sorry, the Lilo tanks asked if it's cheap to make a fish tank. We talked a bit about the cost of starting a tank. And how to go about it. We have some video. We'll link some videos here better. We have how to start a freshwater. We have how to start a saltwater. So I'll link those, and then you can kind of see how to go about it.
There are a lot of starter kits that make it a lot easier to start off.
Sure.
The investment's less than if you were to buy everything separately, and it's all compact and nice. Like the Fluval Flex is a great option. Standard freshwater starter kits from whatever company, Aquarium, Marineland, whatever, Seapora. All great options, right? So you can definitely do that as well, and that's probably the easiest way to start and the most economically friendly way to start.
Cool. Do you think Rotala Wallichi can thrive in a non-CO2 medium light tank? I'm assuming that means medium light tank. Lots of ferts and water is soft acidic.
I couldn't tell you. I would love to tell you, but I can't because I have not kept Rotala in those conditions, and I haven't really done any research on them and whether or not they can take them. I've grown Rotala, not Wallichi, but I've grown Rotala indica in a CO2 system, and it grows like stink. Like, you give it what it wants and it just grows. But I don't know if you can do it non-CO2. I just don't. Sorry.
Fair enough. All right, one more for funsies.
Last
one for funsies. Is there a problem with keeping goldfish of different sizes? My Oranda is double the size of my new one. Thanks.
Only if bullying happens. Realistically, as long as they aren't bullying each other in any way, then you should be fine. I've seen it happen, especially when you're dealing with things with big bubbles under its eyes or big protruding eyes or big bubbles on its head. If the other goldfish are bumping it around, it can cause some damage, and you definitely don't want that. So proceed with caution.
If they play nice?
If they play nice, it's okay. Like, my goal is always to try to keep, when I add new fish, if I'm, you know, you want to keep them relatively the same size if there's any chance of aggression, because then you kind of mediate it. The only, you know, time that you break that rule is when you're dealing with trying to pair up fish for mating, like clownfish, where if you've got a large clownfish in the tank, you want to stick a tiny clownfish with it, because there's a better chance that you'll end up with a dominant female, which is the one you already have in the tank, and a male. And then they're more likely to get along than if you stuck to the exact same size. There's a good chance that, you know, there's going to be a fair bit of fighting, and one of them either has to just be removed, or it gets complicated. So, but yeah, for the most part, I try it like with goldfish. I try to keep them all relatively the same size. You don't want like a giant one and a tiny one. Probably not the best.
All right, so I guess we'll call it there.
Yeah, we're gonna call it. I'm gonna run back to my family and my aquariums and my chickens and batten down the hatches and weather this sucker out.
Yeah, but worry not, we will be just fine. We've prepped, we're ready to go. So we'll keep you guys updated too on our community tab on YouTube.
Yeah,
you know, if we need to, we'll kind of let you guys know how we're doing.
If I lose power, I'll take pictures and send them to Brian.
Yes, and then I'll post it, and that should work out just fine. So thank you guys all so much for joining us today on our special hurricane edition of our Q&A. As always, we do appreciate you guys showing up here, asking questions, supporting us. It always makes us feel the warm and fuzzies when we have
means people. The world to us.
Yeah, and thanks for those of you who send super chats. Thank you for that.
Roger, thank you. We'll stay safe as we can.
Yeah, we will absolutely stay as safe as possible. If you guys, in the meantime, if you want to find other ways to support us, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. That is
Pulse big time. Smash that like button for Hurricane live stream.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Subscribe to us. We have our 100,000 subscriber giveaway coming up soon, where we have less than 2,000 to go. So share us around to anyone you know, all of the hobbyists, all over every website forum. Let people know about our channel and what you like about it, and hopefully that'll help us get to that 100,000 subscriber mark, and then we get our silver play button, and then we show you, and it's a lot of fun for everyone.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and to check out, you know, if you live near a store, check us out. If you want to support us at BigOwlsPets.com, we would always appreciate that. That helps us do what we do with you guys. Thomas, you're ready to jet, so I'm going to let you get out of here.
All right.
I'm going to play that awesome hurricane graphic because I worked hard on it this morning. So we'll end with that, and we'll see you guys in another 2 weeks for another live stream, as long as my house is still standing.
Keep on tanking, hurricane style.